What do you get when you cross Spider-Man, Evangelion, and My Chemical Romance? You get Peni Parker, aka Spider. Hi, I'm Nando, and in this series, I take a character from Marvel Comics, I talk about their backstory, their power set, their personality, and I give you some reading recommendations. And this week we are talking about one of the many multiversal Spider variants, Peni Parker. Peni Parker, or Spider, which is how I'm going to be pronouncing it, is not an incredibly consequential figure. Like a lot of these guys, she's only been in 30 or so comics, but ever since her appearance in Into the Spider-Verse, she's gotten slightly higher profile. And she's about to be a big part of a new Marvel game, so let's talk about her. I'd say right off the bat, weirdest thing about Peni Parker is that this character was created in Edge of Spider-Verse number 5. This was part of the Edge of Spider-Verse event where we were introducing characters, each one would get their own issue, and they were all alternate Spider-Men. Penny's is the 5th one, so this is reading recommendation number 1. It's written by Gerard Way, with art by Jake Wyatt, Ian Herring, and Clayton Cowell. So Gerard Way, you may be like, wait, Gerard Way? Like from My Chemical Romance? It's like, yes. He is the creator of Peni Parker for some reason. I'm not gonna say for some reason, because he came up with it, but it's like one of those weird little, trivia facts. And he's done other comic book stuff in the past. Obviously, he did Umbrella Academy, is a product of Gerard Way, and then he wrote some Doom Patrol. So beyond those characters, I would say one of his biggest contributions to comics is Peni Parker. The story that we learn about in Penny's origin issue is that her father was part of the Spider program, which was mystery until Penny's aunt and uncle, Ben and May, obviously, told Penny that her father died, and because of like a genetic thing, kind of like the Avatar movie, Penny was going to be the only person that could pilot the Spider mech. Now, the Spider mech is a mech that works in tandem with a spider. So the spider has to bite Penny, and then if they're an acceptable match, then she is the new spider person. So she does get this responsibility thrust upon her, not in exactly the same way as the other Spider-Man though, because it is also kind of her destiny. So she makes a connection with Spider, and then becomes the new Spider-Man. Now this mech, the Spider mech, and it is spelled capital SP//DR. It's apparently similar to mechs from the Evangelion series. I am not a big anime fan. They're apparently, especially in this origin book, a lot of little, background characters where you're supposed to be like, oh, that's the guy from that. I don't know who any of them are. I believe one of them is from Gurren Lagann, and a couple of them from this Evangelion. I recognize the jacket from Akira, so there's that. But there's a fair amount of this that I think went over my head. We do get the opportunity to see a couple of villains in this universe. We see Mysterio, who's this weird guy who sprays you with, nerve gas. So he's kind of like Scarecrow, tries to get you to do hallucinations, flies a big orb around the city, and Penny and the spider have to do like a neural link so that she can fight Mysterio because the spider isn't affected by the nerve gas, and Penny's like tripping out. But this is like a classic Penny and Spider kind of comic, and you'll see it in the rest of this book. She just gets like picked up from school by Daredevil, and he's like, hey, whoever you are, some random kid, you gotta go. And apparently, a kid in the class will figure this out and be like, oh yeah, I think that means you were the kid that hung out with Daredevil that one day. Yeah, pretty sure that means you're Spider-Man. Also, I'm not sure if this character is actually called Spider-Man. It's probably not. It's probably just Spider, but you're Spider. But this character's interesting. Penny's very chill. She does not get shaken by all that much, and she's very used to the superhero thing. She's been doing it for a very long time. She does have some of that, like, hey, my dad, am I living up to his legacy? Because her dad was Spider before she was, and because Daredevil had worked with her dad, he's like, yeah, no, you're good, which is cool to say, but I don't think Daredevil really had a choice. It would have been pretty strange if Daredevil was like, no, he doesn't really, I don't think he'd like you. And Penny is not just a spider, by herself. She has a whole team of people that work with her. They come and pick up the mech and bring it home, fix it if it gets broken. She is just the pilot because she's the only person that can do this. In the end of the comic, she gets recruited by Spider-Ham and Old Man Spider-Man to join the Spider Society, or I don't know if it's called the Spider Society at that point, but join the other Spider people to help fight multiversal threats. And then she's involved with the Spider-Verse for a while. I wouldn't say she has a huge role she plays in the Spider-Verse. She is very easy to spot in those big shots. And one thing that's interesting about Penny that I didn't realize until now, she's one of the higher profile Spider women that is not from Earth 616, because obviously we're going to meet a lot of Spider people that are like, I'm the Spider-Man from my Earth, and my Earth is cowboys, and I'm a cowboy, or whatever. Obviously Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Ham, right? Almost all men, besides Spider-Gwen, or Ghost Spider, or whatever, Peni Parker is probably the second highest ranking Spider-Woman, or Spider-Girl, I guess, because she's still a teenager. But that is something that makes her interesting. And yeah, obviously, her big cool mech is very fun in big group shots, so she does have some, fun moments. But then we do get another good Peni Parker solo story in Edge of Spider-Geddon, Volume 1, Issue 2. And this was written by Lonnie Nadler, Zach Thompson, and again, Gerard Way, with art by Alberto Jimenez, Albuquerque, Triona Tree Farrell, and Corey Petit. This is a story that happens a little bit later in Penny's life, but it does feel like it's a pretty one-to-one continuation of that first story, because here we're going to meet a schoolmate of Penny's, and honestly, this is a name that even after reading the whole issue, took me to the end of it to go like, oh, right, this kid's named Addie Brock, A-D-D-Y Brock, and she knows what's going on with Penny, but she's like, hey, let's be friends, I want to hang out with you, and Penny's like, I'm a weirdo, nobody likes me, also like, it's weird that you're trying to hang out with me so much, so, I'm just gonna leave, and she doesn't give this girl the time of day, and Addie is nice. What we will find out is May and Ben were working on a different mech, and this one was called Venom, so it's Venom, but it's capital V-E-N, #M, and this is a big spider mech that does not have a spider, so it interfaces neurally, and in the same way that like the Pacific Rim robots, where it's just like your thoughts are what powers it. But Aunt May and Uncle Ben know it's a little dangerous, and they don't tell Penny about it because everything's classified, and it starts this rift between the three of them. Eventually, Penny is out fighting Morbius, who is a big, giant monster thing that sucks up electricity and says the things that the TV say. Very cool idea and a cool design for Morbius. When she's beaten, but then the Venom suit shows up, and Venom helps to fight Morbius, but then this sim engine that is taking the place of the spider, that starts to take control, and it starts taking over Addie's brain, and Aunt May tries to jump in the machine to try to save Addie, but both Addie and then Aunt May are both completely consumed by this suit, and like the wiring, and it's eventually stopped, but like, this is her Uncle Ben dying moment. It's Aunt May instead, and it's because of the Venom suit, which I think it's implied, but I don't remember if it's ever explicitly said, is also what killed Penny's dad, Peter Parker. So that's Penny's second big solo story. Giving it a little bit more pathos. This is why like her and Uncle Ben now have more trust in each other, and it's just the two of them. So the only other Penny comic that I want to highlight is part of the Spider-Verse Unlimited Infinity comic series. So these are the comics you read on your phone, you scroll down through the story. Penny has a big arc, it starts in issue 7, so I'll say issue 7 of the Spider-Verse Unlimited series. Written and drawn by Ken Nimura. It's very different from these other books. Spider has a completely different design where it's just a big circle with some eyes and arms and legs, but it still has the same basic powers. It's a much sillier book. It's supposed to be fun, and this whole book is just Penny trying to fight a couple of villains like the Atomic Lizard, but also having to do the whole like, I want to be Spider-Man, but also I want to hang out with the cool kids. But also, it's kind of cool to be Spider-Man though, isn't it? Great power, great responsibility, all that stuff. It's a fun little story, and it goes on for like 5 issues, but it's a very quick read. I think the art is, like I said, very different. Also features an alternate universe version of Doctor Doom that's kind of fun. So I would say this whole comic is the other reading recommendation here. These are the books that seem to focus the most on who Peni Parker is outside of big Spider-Man events. So most people probably will recognize Peni Parker from Into the Spider-Verse and a very brief appearance in Across the Spider-Verse, where she is voiced by Kimiko Glenn. Pretty similar to the version we see in the comics, where she is a child, she has a bond with a spider that she has around her at all times. I haven't really mentioned that yet, but the spider hangs out with her. They have like a psychic link, and she drives a big cool mech. Now we're talking about Penny this week because she's being introduced into 2 games. First, she is being introduced into the collectible card game Marvel Snap, and she's being introduced into the hero shooter Marvel Rivals. I'm talking about Marvel Snap first. In Marvel Snap, Peni Parker is a 2-cost 3 power with the on-reveal ability, add a spider to your hand. When this merges, you get +1 energy next turn. And you guys all know what that means. You know who Spider is, right? Just kidding. So Spider is a 3-cost 3 power with the on-reveal ability. Merge with one of your cards here, you can move that card next turn. So, like Spider-Man, plays into the move mechanic, and like the other big robot suit, the Hulkbuster, it's about empowering another card. I imagine it's designed kind of to be used by Penny, but you can put this on any card, especially cards that get buffed by movement. So the obvious synergy here is like Human Torch, or cards like Sebastian Shaw, although I don't know how he works with Emerge, if he gets empowered by that. I'm not sure. I think one thing that's really good about Peni Parker is, like Kate Bishop, she's going to be really good for ramp decks, especially like decks with Wiccan. She's going to be a 2-drop and then a guaranteed 3-drop. You can do a bunch of different things with, but will just guarantee that you're using all of your energy, so that can be really important. Especially because we're going to be getting Victoria Hand and other cards that are in the shield archetype, where the idea is to put new cards into your hand. That could really help with this card as well, making this viable. It's hard to tell if it's going to be meta relevant, but it is interesting. It can do a lot of different things, and I think that makes it a card that is very useful. Movement's one of those things that's almost always useful. As far as variants, 3, like the last time, we have a Ryan Kennard, Eduardo Mello, looks good, and then a Marvel Rivals variant that is by NetEase Games. It's in Spotlight Cash, looks very similar, and that's something I've noticed about these Marvel Rivals variants, is they all look just kind of like the other cards that they're based on. Not that that's bad, but it's just not, that exciting, because the base art for this card is not what Peni Parker usually looks like. I wouldn't say it's like how she's always drawn. This is definitely based off the Marvel Rivals version. Then Creative House Pocket has a variant that looks perfect. Like, that is right out of Into the Spider-Verse. I think that's a fantastic variant. I imagine a lot of people are going to get Peni Parker and then get that variant immediately after. Then in Marvel Rivals, Penny's lore reads, after the death of her father, Peni Parker inherited the experimental mech suit known as Spider. In order to control the suit, Penny had to allow herself to be bitten by the irradiated arachnid that controls its CPU, forming a psychic bond between them. Now Penny and Spider keep the people of Tokyo Web World safe, just like her father did before her. But their mission is bigger than just one city. Since the time stream entanglement, Penny and Spider have devoted themselves to the protection of the web of life and destiny and the countless realities it connects. So that's not too different from the comics. In Rivals, Penny is a Vanguard class. She's one of the heroes with the most health and damage negation skills, and she can plant spider nests that target and attack the nearest enemy. She can also lay down the cyber webs, which you can use to escape really easily, and the webs can also trap enemies. I think it's obvious what they're kind of going for here, even though it doesn't play exactly the same, because she is not... The Hulk is really the diva of this game, like Diva from Overwatch, but I think she's supposed to fill that role. Because it's funny that this game also has a teenager in a mech, but the Hulk is actually the more diva-ish character. As always, thank you to Bernardo Tellish for helping me put this together. Next video, we're talking about Dr. Doom 2099, a character that has a surprising amount of comics written about them, more than Peni Parker, for example, by quite a few. That 2099 was not just Spider-Man, it was a lot. So that's all I got. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.